Alright everyone, welcome to another video. Today I'm doing a commentary. Sorry, there are weird noises. This room makes a very loud sound every time someone's running any water in the house. I think my dad is watering the garden outside. So, that's the explanation this time for that noise. Basically, today I'm talking about childhood injury stories, right? Okay, so as a small child, right, I was very stupid. And I had a little rock, right? And I was rolling it down, like, the center of my ear, okay? That sounds really strange, but once I explain it, it'll sound even stranger, don't worry. Alright. But anyway, I was rolling this down my ear, okay? And I get it, like, just full out on, like, the 6th try. Okay, I was doing well. I was not failing at this task, okay? I was popping off at rolling a rock down my ear. And, on, like, the 6th one, right, this rock, it just gets stuck in the middle of my ear. And so I'm sat there, like, with a rock in my ear. And so I tell the teacher, I tell the teacher, excuse me, there's a rock stuck in my ear. And this teacher's never happy to be interrupted in their lesson, but I think I've done this multiple times. I just do stupid stuff. And it wasn't really a surprise to this teacher anymore that I had gotten a rock stuck in my ear. So she just called my parents casually, and my parents were like, hey, just, like, we're gonna have to take you to the emergency room. Because having a rock stuck in my ear would probably be a bad thing in the eyes of most parents. And probably should be. What? I'm in the goal. Okay. So, I just went to the emergency room. The doctors poured some kind of, like, liquid in my ear to make it do something. It made me tilt my head to the side and stuff. But on to the next story of me being a stupid small child. I was throwing sawdust in the air, right? I was just tossing sawdust up in the air and pretending I had superpowers, as you do as a small child. So I just threw some in the air, and my dad told me, don't do that, it's gonna fly back and get in your eye. The next throw, it was as if he jinxed it. The next throw, I get it in my eye, and I can get most of it out, but we have to go to the doctors to get the last bit out, and I hated eye drops at that point. So I just squeezed my eyes really tight, and I didn't care that it hurt really bad. But the doctors had to hold my eye open, get me to actually accept the eye drops. There we go. Best goal save I've ever seen from your boy. Yeah, that was a little bit of an embarrassing story. Eventually, after a lot of pain of the sawdust in my eye, I agreed to let them try and get the sawdust out. So, on to my next injury story. This is a more serious injury. It was a broken arm, right? I'm really lucky they died there. Whee! So, yeah, I was basically on my friend's trampoline. He had, like, there wasn't any netting around it, right? And it was just a really old trampoline, too. And it was parent-teacher conference night, so my parents weren't there. This is when I was, like, in 2nd grade, I believe. I was slightly older. But, yeah, basically, we were jumping on this little trampoline that we had here. Stop! And, Blake, my friend, just double bounces me, and I just go flying off the trampoline. And you gotta understand, I just get absolutely launched into the sky by Blake here. And I just fly off the trampoline. I fly off the back edge. So what I do is I hit my back on the fence. And then, I also fall onto flagstone, which was suboptimal, I will admit. So I got very badly injured. What happened was, Blake's mom asked does it feel broken? And I'm like, how am I supposed to know what broken feels like? I've never broken an arm before. And I hadn't broken anything before at that point, so it'll give you some perspective of how stupid that question was. But basically, they try and solve my problem by having me watching The Amazing World of Gumball. They turn on The Amazing World of Gumball, which I had never watched before because my parents were very cautious about what TV shows I watched as a small child to try and, like, make me a good person and stuff. Which is probably a good thing. But it really annoyed me, so I had never seen The Amazing World of Gumball, but I didn't really care at that point. I didn't care what show it was. I was just crying really loudly because my arm hurt. And I did that for like an hour, and Blake was obviously super annoyed at me for crying because he couldn't hear the show because I was crying too loudly. Anyway, once my parents get there, they weren't clued in on what was happening until they finally looked at their phones after the parent-teacher conference and saw all the text that said, your son is crying very loudly and his arm looks mildly broken. And so they were all nervous when they arrived. And Mom says, oh, I think he'll be fine. And Dad says, is the elbow supposed to bend that way? So I end up in the emergency room is the next thing I remember. I must have like passed out in the car ride or something or fallen asleep because it was really late. It was like 10:30. So in the hospital, I find a piece of gum stuck to my back is one of the first things I did. Kind of disgusting. I was just like, ew, at like 3 in the morning. And then they finally get me in to do x-rays. They finally find time to help the kid with a broken arm. So yeah, I got in for x-rays, and the guy told me if I made a crazy face, it would help it hurt less. Which is kind of a ludicrous story, but at that point I was for anything that made anything hurt less. So I was just down to make any kind of crazy face or noise to make it hurt less. So I was making a stupid face whilst also trying to position my arm in really painful positions so they could x-ray it. Once that's done, they give me a little like sling thing. And they give me a little thing that goes underneath your cast. I still have that thing. I used it to bandage the injury a recent injury. Basically, they give me, in 2 days I go back and get a cast. It wasn't more than 2 days. Basically, they gave me a decent amount of time with that before they gave me the cast so that it could, like, set a little bit. And I didn't have to have surgery because I was, like, a 1 in a billion chance that didn't have, I had, like, my growth plates in the correct positioning or something, so, yay, my arm growing solved its own problem. So basically, I chose a black cast, is another thing I was about to say with this. Which was one of the stupidest things I've probably ever done. It was like the middle of summer, so that was a minor issue, but it was really cool. So the reason I wanted a black cast was because I wanted like silver and gold signatures on it, and that was the only color I could think of where I could put silver and gold signatures. I remember that at school there was like a line forever at recess to sign my cast. All people wanted to do was sign that cast, which was pretty great because I got a lot of attention. But I was already, like, popular for being a weirdo. For some reason, everyone liked me back then. Weird times, what can I say? People actually enjoyed talking to me. So, my other injury story is more recent. I fell off my bike. So my friend invited me to a bike park, basically. And, he said it's not that intense. People bring their, like, 3-year-olds on Striders here. And I'm like, okay. But, wow, those 3-year-olds on Striders are popping off. Those kids are insane. Like, it wasn't that crazy. It wasn't that crazy a bike park, but, like, it was not 3-year-olds on trikes level. But, like, so, basically, I fell off my bike, and it was not fun. I got a giant scrape on my arm, okay? And we were afraid it was going to get really infected, because it looked really, really bad. But we got to it pretty quickly, and we were able to save it from going all kinds of crazy. So it was all good. So that's what happened to my arm. If you see me lately, I just have a giant scar on my arm. Not a scar, it's like a big scratch. And I got scratched on my knee. I got scratched on both knees. My other arm got a tiny little scratch. But overall, yeah, pretty unpleasant experience having a very injured arm. And so for this next bit of commentary, I'm bringing in my sister, Aqua Sheep 22. Get over here, Aqua Sheep.
Okay.
Hello, you scared me. I didn't think you were right there.
Hi.
Move closer to the mic. Here, I'm moving the microphone. Noise warning.
Hi, it's Aqua Sheep.
You don't get it. If you wanted a chair, you could have brought yourself a chair. Stand on the other side of me.
Okay. We're just getting situated here.
So tell your story.
Okay, so one time. So last year I did sewing, and I still sometimes sew, but not really that much.
No, you never do.
And well, when I have to, I do. Not the story. So I don't usually get injured that much, since I never do anything. But
since you never do anything.
I was sewing last year. It was like the holiday break, and I'm sewing.
The holiday season, a whoop-de-doo.
Yeah, I'm sewing a quilted organizer for all my sewing supplies. I kind of got distracted, and I wasn't really paying attention that much to what I was doing, and I sewed my finger, and yeah, so then I didn't really feel it yet, so I looked down and I was like, oh my god, there's a needle in my finger.
And then we cut to my perspective. I'm sat in my room, just chilling, playing some Minecraft.
Chilling the most.
And she just starts screaming. She wasn't like crying, she was just yelling and screaming. Because she was just in shock. She didn't feel it yet.
No, not really.
But, so we call Mom down. So I say, I run out and I say, Mom, Aqua hurt herself. Mom comes running down and she almost passes out. Like, Mom can't believe this. Because this is kind of a crazy injury.
Yeah, and Mom doesn't like injuries.
And Mom gets squeamish around stuff like that.
She almost fainted. She had to sit down.
Yeah. But...
So she called Dad, who was at the gas station, getting gas.
Yeah, and he was driving home from the gas station.
What were we talking about?
Yeah, how you sewed your finger.
Okay, so she calls Dad, who was driving home from work. He was at the gas station.
You remember exactly what we were talking about.
And he was like, okay,
oh, yeah.
We're taking you to the ER. So we drive down to the ER. And at this point, like, it's hurting. Like, it hurts.
Yeah, I figured.
And he's like, okay, so they're probably, like, gonna numb it. You're not even gonna feel it when they pull it out, blah, blah, blah. And, yeah, they didn't numb it. We show up at the ER. And they put us at the front of the line. Like, we get to cut a bunch of people. Because apparently
it's the emergency room for emergencies.
I think I could have survived, like, another 10 minutes. No, I could have survived, like, for the rest of my life with a needle in my finger, probably.
Right.
But
you could have survived, but it sure wouldn't be fun.
Yeah. So we go into the ER room.
The ER room, the emergency room.
Yeah, the emergency room. And they pull out the needle, and they don't numb it. They just yank it out.
They just go full send. You're just, wow.
Yeah.
And I go, get closer to the microphone.
Oh, okay.
Can
you guys hear me?
Yes, this shows how loud you are.
Okay.
So, like, I usually try and keep in yellow.
Okay. So I go like, You know, like you do when like
Like a
someone's yanking a needle out of your
like
finger.
bares your teeth, kind of jinkies moment.
Yeah. And I haven't mentioned yet that, like, in my finger, like, the needle had broken in half. So I had to pull it, they had to pull, like, not just one thing out, but two things out. And, yeah. And then Dad read this post on, like, Facebook or Instagram or something or other, and it was like, oh, I hurt myself woodworking today. And he was like, well, I'm at the ER because my daughter sewed her finger. Yay! Yeah. And then we played Wordscapes. The end.
Oh, Wordscapes is the cure for everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm Maroon Sheep 33. Make sure to like and subscribe.
I'm Aquasheep22. Subscribe to a video, but you don't subscribe to a video.
You don't subscribe. You can like a video.
Like a video if I'm in it.
All right.
Okay.
Like a video regardless.
Thanks for watching. Peace out.
Thanks for